The day after our meeting with Grand Duke Bjorn, Henry and I strolled in the garden, holding each other's hands. We were startled when a young boy unexpectedly emerged from the bushes.
"Young master, you're not supposed to be in here."
"Henry, who is he?" Henry recognized the boy, but frowned in concentration, trying to place him.
"I've seen him before, but I can't quite remember where." The child, undeterred by the adult's confusion, recognized Henry immediately, then called out to him. "Father!"
My eyes darted between Henry and the young boy. "What?"
"Ah, I remember. This is Haxon's nephew. My, you've grown."
"Then you're not his father?"
No, this child has nothing to do with me."
Despite his disclaimer, Henry's face softened as he scooped up the child.
"How have you been, Sally?"
"My name's not Sally. You know that."
I was relieved that Henry didn't recall the child's name.
"Of course not. Your name is Sen."
Haxon appeared at that moment, clearly annoyed by Henry not recognizing the boy's name.
"The boy's name is Sebastian, Your Majesty."
Sebastian, once again, playfully called Haxon father, a name he seems to bestow generously.
"I'm sorry, Your Majesty. Sebastian is my nephew. He's curious about the palace. I'm not sure how he wandered here."
I reflected on Henry's desire for a child. His ease with Sebastian, despite not recalling the boy's name, demonstrated that he had a paternal longing. I hoped the powers of the magic bed proved I was indeed able to have children. Despite our frequent attempts, the absence of any sign of pregnancy loomed heavily. My hands rested on my flat belly. Later that evening in my room, sitting in the rocking chair, I rested my hand on my belly again, lost in thoughts about motherhood. The concept felt distant, like a puzzle I couldn't quite solve. My mind drifted back to Henry, recalling the genuine happiness in his expression as he held Sebastian. Did he, like Aldrich, secretly long for a child? An heir would undoubtedly cement his reign. My musings were interrupted by the arrival of Henry. It was an unexpected visit, not our usual time for dinner. Perhaps he came to ease the awkwardness between us, but a part of me braced for something more serious. The recent news from Grand Duke Bjorn about Whitmond was still fresh in my mind.
"My queen, there is something unpleasant I must tell you. It's about that woman."
I knew immediately who he meant. Henry rarely spoke of Rose or Aldrich, unless it was a matter of grave importance. I straightened in my chair, pushing down the anxiety that threatened to rise. What could Henry possibly have to say to me that carried such weight? In the quiet room, with only the gentle rocking of my chair breaking the silence, I readied myself for his words, a mix of apprehension and readiness echoing within me. What happened?
"That woman hired a mercenary for an assassination."
Is she targeting me?
"No, she's after your father and mother."
My parents? I couldn't hide the alarm in my voice. The idea of Rose targeting me was frightening enough, but the notion of her going after my parents was unimaginable. Why?
"That I don't know. Your parents have always avoided confrontation with her."
Henry was right. My parents were not the type to engage in open conflict, especially not with Rose. Why would she target my parents, especially now? Then it hit me. She thinks my family will stand in the way of her child's future.
"I believe that's the case."
Is the mercenary skilled?
"Don't worry, my queen. The mercenary she hired has been replaced by one of my informants."
Henry's mention of an informant piqued my curiosity. An informant?
"Yes, it's through him that I learned of this plot."
A wave of relief washed over me, though a hint of unease remained. I exhaled, my hand instinctively pressing against my heart, trying to calm the rapid beating.
There's still time before the deadline, so there's no immediate danger, but we should remain vigilant.
I need to inform my parents. We have to strengthen their security. Anger flared inside me as I reflected on the situation. During my time as Queen of Elisaria, I had tolerated Rose's actions, believing them to be under Aldrich's jurisdiction. After all, Aldrich had chosen her as his concubine, thus bearing responsibility for her deeds. My reluctance to act against Rose was partly strategic. Had I openly opposed her, I might have been perceived as a villain. Public sympathy often sides with perceived underdog. But now, as Queen of the Western Empire, Rose was no longer a mere concubine. She had her own power, her own agency. And her first significant action was to plot against my family? I just can't stand idly by. Rose's blatant aggression can't go unanswered. The safety of my parents is paramount, and I will take every necessary step to protect them. As I looked at Aldrich's surprised expression, confusion washed over me. Why was he surprised? Did I say something unexpected? What's wrong? I don't see anything strange about my desire to protect my family. Surely anyone would take action in such circumstances.
Oh, nothing. I'm just surprised that you want to take action personally.
His surprise baffled me. Who wouldn't step forward to protect their family? I certainly wasn't one to sit back calmly in such situations.
When I was in Elisaria, you didn't seem to want to properly deal with that woman. I thought you didn't even want to get involved with her.
That's right. I didn't want to get involved with her. Every time I had dealt with Rose, Aldrich had blamed me for everything. I had grown reluctant to even be near her. But now things have changed. The situation was different now. Rose, once a powerless concubine, was now queen. She could no longer be overlooked or dismissed.
Do you have any plans in mind?
I'll make it so she can't pay attention to anything else. I'll keep her busy with her own affairs. I was determined to distract Rose, to keep her entangled in her own problems. It was time for me to step into the fray and protect my family. After Henry's departure, I quickly set my plan into motion. I called for an aide and gave him explicit instructions. Find a trade team that interacts with Elisaria, and bring in the leader. My aide didn't take long to return with the leader of a suitable trade team. I understand that you interact regularly with Elisaria?
Yes, Your Majesty.
I have an assignment for you.
I'm at your service, Your Majesty.
It's nothing difficult, so you can relax. The reassurance seemed to have the opposite effect. The team leader, growing more anxious, clasped his hands tightly, evidently bracing for an onerous task.
What would you have me to do?
When you trade with Elisaria, encourage them to verify that promissory notes are being issued and used properly. That's all. The simplicity of the task was apparent, but I needed it done to distract Rose.
The promissory notes?
Yes, you can use any excuse. Mention rumors of counterfeit promissory note scams or a trade team incurring losses due to forgeries. Just make them cautious. The merchant, visibly relieved, seemed almost disbelieving that the task was so straightforward.
Is that really all you want me to do?
That's all. The merchant's relief was palpable as he agreed to carry out the task. My plan was simple yet effective. By instigating a thorough check on promissory notes, it would create enough distraction and concern within Elisaria's trade operations, keeping Rose occupied. Sometimes the subtlest moves could yield significant results.
The official dispatched to Whitmond had made haste upon his return to the Western Empire, seeking an audience with Henry in his office to relay the findings of his mission. The detained trade team members are safe. They didn't cause any trouble. Then why were they detained? Henry's expression was unusually serious. He considered the detainment an affront to the Western Empire. He pondered whether Whitman would have dared to act similarly if it were a trade team from Elisaria. His instincts told him no. Whitman seems to regard the West as a threat, since it proclaimed itself an empire. A threat? Yes, they suspect that our soldiers might be invading them under the guise of merchants heading to the port. Haxon, who had been listening in, clicked his tongue in disapproval.
Now that we've become an empire, they fear we will seek to establish vassal states.
We have been allied countries for a long time, but they acted this way on the pretext of concern. It's really a pity.
His gaze then shifted to the Whitman Minister of Foreign Affairs, who had accompanied the official. The minister, sensing the gravity of the situation, bowed deeply in a gesture of apology.
I apologize, Your Majesty.
The atmosphere in Henry's office was thick with tension. The Whitman minister was visibly uncomfortable, his hands clasped tightly, as if seeking forgiveness in the gesture.
Return to your country immediately and convey this message. The Western Empire will not hesitate to unsheath our swords should Whitman act against us again in such a manner.
Understood. After the minister and the official exited, Henry relaxed into his chair, a contemplative yet oddly content expression on his face.
What is it, Your Majesty?
It's difficult to trust an ally who has betrayed us. Don't you agree, Haxon?
You mean even if they reopen the port of Whitman?
Exactly.
But why do you seem pleased, Your Majesty? It's almost as if you're happy about Whitman's betrayal.
Is it that obvious? Do I really look happy?
Despite the situation, there was an undeniable glint of opportunity in Henry's eyes.
I was just considering the strategic benefits of having Whitman as one of our own ports.
Are you contemplating an invasion of Whitman?
They acted out of fear and stabbed us in the back. Even if they reverse their decision now, who's to say they won't betray us again at a more critical juncture?
Have you seen my daughter?
Viscount Rothescue whispered his concern to Queen Rose, for he feared she perhaps had something to do with Liliana's disappearance. Whether or not she did, Rothescue knew Rose had the power to get Liliana back. When dealing with the foolish queen, he knew he still held some power over her, even if it was just in her mind. Rose, who was looking out the window, smiled subtly at Rothescue's unknown confirmation that the assassin she hired had succeeded.
I harbour neither knowledge nor interest in anything related to your daughter.
Rose heard Rothescue get up to leave. She was delighted and danced around the room, stopping at the mirror, where she stared at herself and cradled her belly. When she looked up in the mirror, there was a figure standing behind her.
How did you get in here?
Next to the window stood the nameless assassin whose work Rose had just been celebrating. He nodded his cloaked head towards the open window.
What's transpired with the Liliana?
I delivered her to a slave trader. I possess the profits.
Give it to me. I shall indulge in a feast, nourishing my child and myself with her blood money. I shall provide your payment separately.
The assassin handed her the profits, and Rose handed him the appropriate payment, giving him a jewel from her box as an extra bonus, now that she knew how swiftly he could sneak up on her. After scrutinizing the money and jewelry, the assassin nodded and gracefully departed through the window.
I wonder how Liliana likes being a common slave.
Rose once again clutched her belly, finding pleasure in envisioning revenge upon her enemy in equal measure.
Your Majesty.
Shortly thereafter, Agatha, the handmaiden Rose dispatched to spy on Schuyler, arrived. Having successfully pilfered Schuyler's necklace, Rose's spirits ascended even higher.
Well done. Your competence is truly commendable.
Rose handed her a grand jeweled necklace and issued a command.
Keep vigilant over the girl. Notify me promptly should anything unusual arise. Certainly, Your Majesty. Place your trust in me.
Left alone in her chambers, Rose scoffed as she closely examined Schuyler's necklace. This caused her jubilant mood to dissipate. Rose cast the necklace onto the ground and trampled it vehemently. Liliana had been swallowed up into the unknown. The last thing she remembered was witnessing an unnerving spectacle on her way home from a gathering with friends. A horde of people, masquerading as mere passers-by, trailing her. Terrified, she attempted to escape, but succumbed to an unseen assailant, slipping into unconsciousness. Now she discovered herself confined within a cage that smelled like it once housed wild creatures. A malevolent figure, adorned with a sinister aura, chuckled while exchanging money with a cloaked accomplice.
Our patrons relish dismantling the dignity of haughty nobles. Fallen nobles are highly sought after. In time, they morph into wretched slaves. Should you have another noble to sell, seek me out.
Liliana shuddered in fear. As the kidnapper departed, the malevolent man eyed Liliana covetously.
Someone harbors a deep grudge against you.
Please, help me. I'll offer any amount of money you desire.
I am sure I will profit more by selling you than anything you can offer.
The malevolent man smirked and departed, leaving Liliana confined in darkness. Tearfully, she called out for her father and brother, though she knew they were unreachable. She had no idea how many harrowing days she endured in terror as she listened to men negotiating with the slave trader over what she was worth. When a customer arrived who offered double the highest amount, the slave trader accepted the bid without hesitation. Bound and gagged, Liliana was compelled to follow the enigmatic figure who bought her. Liliana could barely see out the carriage window through her tear-blurred vision. The carriage halted in front of a beautiful mansion, and Liliana considered the cruel irony that she would be a slave in what once would be the home of her dreams. Liliana was taken out of the carriage and stood facing the man who now owned her.
Please, sir.
Before she could finish, the man shed his cloak. Liliana's tears ceased and her eyes widened. He wore the uniform of the Knights of the Imperial Guard.
I apologize for startling you, Lady Liliana.
He untied her hands, removed the gag, and stepped back. Liliana, gazing at the knight, asked through sobs,
Who are you?
I am Sir Artemis, a member of the Knights of the Imperial Guard. His Majesty commanded me to rescue Lady Liliana, a loyal friend of Queen Bronwyn.
Liliana struggled to comprehend how King Aldrich knew about her kidnapping, given her family's lack of status. While Liliana grappled with confusion, Sir Artemis unveiled the startling truth.
Lady Liliana, Queen Rose is the architect behind your kidnapping.
Shivers went down Liliana's spine.
Does she intend to obliterate the Rothescue family, to expunge her own history as a slave?
I cannot say, but I assure you, your family is safe.
The knight's calm reassurance alleviated Liliana's greatest fear. Though challenges lay ahead, the confirmation of her family's safety provided a measure of comfort.
But how did His Majesty know that I had been kidnapped?
The king has been concerned about his new wife's actions as of late, and assigned me to monitor her, discreetly. We discovered that Rose had hired an assassin to get rid of you. I'm glad we could rescue you safely. But you must stay here for a while, Lady Liliana. This mansion is owned by the king. Returning to the capital now might put you at risk. I will be back for you when the time is right. In the meantime, make yourself at home. Forget about the terrifying things that happened.
Yes, I will stay here. Thank you for saving me. Please convey my thanks to the king as well.
Lady Liliana, remember this day.
Why do you say that?
It may be useful in the future. Some of us only recognize one queen of these lands. We may need your help in spreading that sentiment.
Sir Artemis left Liliana with those cryptic words as she pondered the mysteries surrounding her kidnapping.
Here is the report on every detail of the mission, Your Majesty. Good job, Sir Artemis. It must have been a taxing endeavor. As I have made myself clear, I intend to protect the integrity of the Queen's seat. I do not know whether anyone has the gall to tell you this, Your Majesty, but with the deepest respect, the new Queen is the one destroying it.
Aldrich nodded seriously.
You were always loyal to Bronwyn, which is how I knew you were up to this task. You speak words that once would have urged me to strike you, but now they simply instill fear in my heart. Please, leave me alone to review this report.
Sir Artemis nodded gravely and quietly left the room. Aldrich opened a drawer in his desk and flipped through several reports just like the one he was holding. All of Rosa's transgressions were meticulously documented. At least all the offenses he was aware of. A few hours later, disturbed by disquieting thoughts, Aldrich instructed his secretary to escort Rose to his chambers.
Your Majesty, the Queen regrets to inform you that she is unable to leave her chambers due to the purported pain in her belly. She beseeches His Majesty to come to her.
Aldrich sighed heavily and rolled his eyes. She feigned discomfort, he thought to himself, likely to evoke sympathy. He was too tired to add this to the list of arguments that awaited, so he acquiesced. Rose stood before the mirror, humming nervously, practicing the pretense of momentary distress. Upon Aldrich's arrival, she hastened toward him, showering him with affection.
Your Majesty, I lacked the vigor to reach the Eastern Palace. Though I have recovered, my belly pained me greatly a short while ago.
It seems your belly experiences frequent distress. Have you summoned the palace physician?
It would be improper to burden such a busy individual constantly.
That is his responsibility.
They stewed in the strained atmosphere.
Your Majesty, I have not heard your sweet song for some time. The child within my womb yearns to hear it.
Aldrich's vulnerability lay in the unborn child, a fact Rose exploited with cunning awareness. Although Aldrich remained silent momentarily, he eventually seated himself beside Rose and sang a hauntingly beautiful melody. Rose closed her eyes as Aldrich sang, the enchanting song caressing her senses. As the song concluded, Rose lay her head on Aldrich's shoulder.
Do you have something to impart?
No.
Reflect upon it. Do you truly have nothing to confide in me?
Why do you speak to me in such a tone?
She was evading the question. At this point, she had orchestrated so many clandestine affairs behind his back that she did not know what she had been caught for. She lied resolutely and rose abruptly.
Come to think of it, I have inquiries for you as well.
Then say what you are thinking. Rose approached her dresser, opened a drawer, retrieved a necklace, and held it before Aldrich.
What significance does this hold?
Aldrich accepted the necklace.
What tawdry bauble is this?
Rose felt a pang of embarrassment at the insinuation of her lacking taste.
The one you gifted, the sorceress you brought as your new concubine.
Aldrich let out a boisterous laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of her accusation.
You underestimate my good taste. So I assume this necklace is the property of Schuyler, yes? Taking a possession not meant for you is unbecoming of a queen.
Rose went into victim mode and fell to her knees.
You're right. Yet jealousy over your Majesty's attentiveness to another stirred within me. I chanced upon this necklace at the Southern Palace, but refrained from returning it. I apologize.
Aldrich pocketed the necklace.
I shall arrange for its return on your behalf. Yet another mess of yours to clean up.
I sat in the palace's meeting room, paying close attention, as the matter of war was being discussed. I was tempted to voice my opinion, but my recent arrival compelled cautious restraint. The Celestial Isles still regarded me as an outsider. After a prolonged and heated discussion, the subject changed, and it seemed the meeting was nearing its end. There was just one nobleman who sought permission to speak. Haxon, presiding over the meeting, granted him the floor. The nobleman, visibly nervous, stepped forward.
It is rumoured that the King of Elisaria divorced Her Majesty Bronwyn due to infertility.
My cheeks turned deep red, and I suddenly felt hot. I was stunned into stillness, which perhaps came across as strength. The man met my gaze and immediately looked back down at the floor.
Of course, I don't believe in an absurd rumour like that.
Then why voice it to the council?
It is a very frightening and important rumour. I felt I should ask the Queen if it were true.
The nobleman clasped his hands, beseeching me with a gaze bordering on tears.
Your Majesty the Queen, is the rumour true?
While he proposed the question, Marquis Carriage, Catherine's cousin, caught my attention. His gaze held a sinister satisfaction. It is not true. But it seemed like my firm denial only fueled Marquis Carriage's sly smile. Once the meeting concluded, I approached Marquis Carriage. The nobles at his side hastily departed. Did you have fun orchestrating that little scene? I suppose that he had no intention of hiding the fact that he had asked a low-status official to bring up the rumour of my infertility. His face had an expression that seemed to be as good as an admission of guilt. Instead of stooping to his low level, I leaned in towards him. Whether I am fertile or not, your family will never be royalty. Cling as much as you'd like to false hope. It is useless. He frowned, clearly shocked at my willingness to speak so bluntly. He opened his mouth to speak further, but before he could speak, a massive spear passed me from behind. Ah! Just before it struck him directly in the forehead, Marquis Carring grabbed the spear, stopping it from making impact. We all turned to see who threw the spear. There was only one knight who was breathing heavily, as if enraged. Sir Leaf.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Your Majesty.
Sir Leaf wasn't speaking to me or Marquis Carriage. He was talking to Henry.
Don't worry. Mistakes happen.
The whole thing was so strange. Why was Sir Leaf apologizing to the king, instead of the man upon whom he had just attempted to kill?
You seek revenge like children.
Fuming, the Marquis left the room in disgust. Later, while immersed in a bath, the unsettling words about my fertility echoed in my mind. Why spread such a rumour? And was it indeed circulating? The secrecy surrounding it left me questioning its validity. If Nadine or my ladies-in-waiting had heard of it, they surely would have informed me. So did Marquis Carriage fabricate it, or was he fed the information? Was Rose or an Elisarian noble behind this? Aldrich seemed unlikely. Marquis Carriage wouldn't concoct baseless rumours due to the inherent risks. He implemented safety measures, speaking through someone else and feigning skepticism. Lost in thought, I realized the warm water had turned cold. After dressing, I approached the mirror, where Henry sat in an armchair, engrossed in a book about fish. Do you like fishing?
Very much.
A peculiar evil grin adorned his face, seemingly at odds with his sweet demeanour. Why do you look so mischievous when talking about fish? Reaching out to touch his cheek, Henry reciprocated by rubbing against my palm.
I'll cook you a delicious fish as soon as I catch him. I hope the Marquis suits your taste.
Marquis Carriage revelled in satisfaction as he plotted the unfolding drama. The rumour of Queen Bronwyn's infertility had been strategically planted, and now he awaited its growth. Doubt would escalate over time, eventually spiralling out of control.
Patience is key.
The Marquis was sitting on a great deal of information, and he intended to take the Troby family down one by one. At the moment, Oscar was too popular to attack, but he was sure there was more to the story about why he had left Elisaria. He had even sent his subordinate, Raymond, to investigate. Once he learned the rumour of Bronwyn's infertility, he knew he had the upper hand, and his delight only continued when Raymond entered his study.
Marquis, I heard an incredible rumour. It is about King Henry's hidden mistress. It is said that a knight of the Imperial Guard often goes to her house to bring her whatever she needs, and that a plain-clothed guard is standing at the door at all times.
This could be quite possible, given that King Henry is the most famous playboy in higher society. Besides that scoundrel Duke Elegy, of course, he leads a life of debauchery. In fact, it is surprising to learn that he has only one rumoured hidden mistress.
She recently moved to the nearby town of Henford. Apparently, when she found out that King Henry had married, she burst into tears.
Interesting. I do fear that because His Majesty is not the type to care about rumours, there is no reason to keep her hidden.
Well, if she is a mistress of the present and not the past, it may behoove him to hide her from the new queen.
You're right. Come now, Raymond. Let us fetch a carriage and keep an eye on this mistress.
The next morning, Marquis Carriage's bloodshot eyes were fixed on the house where they had discreetly parked all night. Raymond had succumbed to sleep, but the Marquis had no need for such mortal things when there was a mystery afoot.
What is it? What did I miss?
The plain-clothed guard in front of the door. Now that the day is upon us, I recognize him. It is the man who tried to kill me at the State Council meeting. A woman who lives in hiding, protected by a knight clearly working for the king's interests.
A dark smile spread across Marquis Kerridge's face, and his smile darkened even more when a handsome blonde child ran outside the house, chased by a beautiful woman.
Quickly, Raymond! Approach her! Inquire! Go!
Raymond scrambled out of the carriage. The Marquis followed closely behind.
Miss, pardon me, miss?
Yes?
Is this your son?
Who are you, and why are you inquiring about my family?
Your family, so it is your son.
The woman's eyes filled with tears.
I am here to help you, miss. I come from the palace.
But you do not look like a noble.
He is my subordinate. I am Marquis Kerridge, and I am the one who can help you.
Having heard the conversation, Marquis Kerridge decided to reveal himself.
Is this boy the son of King Henry?
I believe he is.
Well, then why don't you bring him to the royal palace, where he belongs?
I don't want to be a nuisance. His Majesty is married. I was so confused as he gave me this token of love.
Out of her pocket, she brought out a pendant with an emblem of the royal family on it.
Give me that pendant. I will bring it to the palace and show it to the king.
Why should I trust you?
Marquis Kerridge pulled his own family pendant out of his pocket and handed it to her.
Take my pendant as collateral. We will exchange back later.
The woman nodded, and Marquis Kerridge leaned in closer to whisper to her the plan. They may be done for today, but the next state council meeting was in 2 days, and he intended to bring her.
Request of Marquis Kerridge. You promised me something in return.
The Marquis shifted uncomfortably at her blatant admission of their partnership. He did not want the blame for attacking the king.
What did he promise you?
It's hardly appropriate to say here. I can let you know exactly what he promised me in private. But the Marquis didn't keep his promise. He forced me to do absurd things that annoyed me, and then discarded me. That's why I'm here.
What the hell are you talking about?
Everyone present turned their attention to Marquis Kerridge as he heard these significant words. He stepped forward, speaking in as calm a tone as possible.
That young lady claimed to be the mistress of His Majesty the King. I considered it probable, so I promised to bring her here before His Majesty. I thought I had kept my promise by bringing her here, but it seems the young lady does not think the same.
Traitor!
Melody rushed at Marquis Kerridge, shouting, but the knight stopped her before she could reach him.
You promised me. You even gave me this pendant. Are you trying to pass me off as a madwoman in front of His Majesty? You are truly cruel.
Marquis Kerridge's ears turned red as those present began to murmur. He clenched his teeth. She had made him seem like the liar, the cheater. He grabbed her arm and pulled her close.
What the hell are you doing?
I did what you wanted. Just pointed my finger in another direction.
Marquis Kerridge burst into Henry's office, filled with rage.
Was this some kind of trap, Your Majesty? That woman was your subordinate.
Henry's eyes widened. He looked so puzzled that Marquis Kerridge began to think that he might be wrong. He fell silent. But then, keeping his innocent expression, Henry pulled the Kerridge family pendant from his pocket. He held it up to the Marquis's face and smiled broadly as he put it back in his pocket.
Your Majesty!
Many people are curious.
They want to know what exactly is the relationship between that woman and Marquise Kerridge. Or they wonder what the Marquise promised her, etc. What should I do? How should I answer, Marquise?
Marquise Kerridge ground his teeth angrily. But he could not answer. Henry winked at him and patted him twice on the shoulder.
While I think about what answer to give, you should also think about your behavior from now on. Now get out of my office.
As the Marquis exited, Haxon entered.
He tried to harm your majesty once again. He should be thankful he's still intact. What an idiot!
Magic, family, talent as a diplomat. I wouldn't hesitate to replace him if he lacked even one of these 3 qualities. It's a shame. This will be his last chance.
Skylar was alone in her room, which is how she spent most of her time, unless she was assisting the court sorcerer. She had taken solace in her bath times, where she felt safe and certain of her solitude. With one hand, she untied the ribbon at the top of her dress. She let it fall to the floor, as if shedding a suffocating coat, and hurried into the bath. While bathing, Skylar noticed the absence of the necklace she always wore.
My necklace.
She emerged from the bathroom with a towel, still damp, and frantically searched for it among her clothes, under the bed, under the rug, and more, but the necklace was nowhere to be found. Wrought with tears, she pounded on the table. She always wore that necklace. She didn't know when, where, or how it disappeared. Since it wasn't in her room, she thought maybe she had lost it some other day. And then she noticed something strange.
What in the world?
Skylar began frantically touching her bare body, feeling a strange but familiar pulsating throughout her veins.
My magic has returned.
Frantically, she dressed and sprinted down the halls. Skylar was nearly jumping for joy when she startled the court sorcerer by bursting into the room.
Sorcerer, my magic is back.
The sorcerer, who would typically warn her not to run through the corridors of the royal palace, was overcome with happiness. The two embraced each other with great joy.
How? When did it return?
I don't know. The necklace I was wearing was a magic necklace. I don't know exactly when the magic returned. I just noticed that the necklace disappeared.
A magic necklace?
Yes.
Did that necklace return your magic?
I don't know. Besides, I lost it. I don't know if it was stolen or if I dropped it.
I will speak to the king to have his subordinates search everywhere for it. I will do it straight away. Come with me.
Come in. The sorcerer and Skylar entered quietly, careful to not disturb the king. What is it? The sorcerer explained the situation in detail, begging for the king's help.
Your Majesty, please send your subordinates to search every corner of the royal palace to find Skylar's necklace. If that necklace really helped Skylar regain her magic, it might also help solve the phenomenon of sorcerer decline.
Aldrich raised his eyebrows, took out a small box from a drawer, and held it out to him. Could this be it? Inside the box lay a precious jeweled necklace, the very one belonging to Skylar that Rose had supposedly found at the southern palace. The sorcerer examined the necklace like a hungry dog, while Aldrich watched his gaze intently. The sorcerer handed it then to Skylar.
That is my necklace. Thank you, Your Majesty. Where did you find it?
A servant found it and then brought it here, believing it to be of great value. Little did he know how right he was. I am happy it found its way back to you." Skylar put her fist to her chest. Her heart was beating fast. She was very happy. For a sorcerer, losing one's magical ability was terribly painful. Skylar knew this pain all too well. She told the king and the court sorcerer that she wanted to be of help to sorcerers in the same situation. Then she walked happily back to the mage's office with the court sorcerer. When they returned, the court sorcerer's other assistant, Daniel, was working on an assignment the sorcerer had given him.
"Oh, hello. Did you find the necklace?"
Excitedly, Skylar simply presented him with the necklace instead of answering. Tears of joy welled up in Daniel's eyes.
"May I?"
Skylar nodded, and, for the first time since coming to Elisaria, she felt like she was safe. With Daniel and the court sorcerer, she felt among friends. But when Daniel touched the necklace, he cried out in a great deal of pain. He swayed as if struck by lightning.
"Daniel!"
Before Skylar could ask what was going on, Daniel fell to the floor with a thud. It occurred in the blink of an eye. The sound of his head hitting the ground echoed violently, like an old tree falling. The court sorcerer ran in terror to his disciple and shook his shoulders desperately.
"Daniel, what's wrong? Hey!"
The court sorcerer repeatedly shouted his disciple's name, then took several books and placed them under Daniel's head.
"Skylar, get the doctor!"
I'm on my way.
Skylar, surprised and bewildered, hurried out of the laboratory. The sorcerer, clutching Daniel in his arms, looked down at the magic stone in the necklace, which was glowing. Skylar spent the night on the floor of the infirmary where Daniel had been taken. She was awakened by his stirring. Although he had hit his head hard when he fell, fortunately, nothing serious seemed to be ailing him physically.
Daniel,
What happened?
you hit your head, but the doctor says nothing is wrong.
No, something is definitely wrong.
He is awake. Skylar turned to see Aldrich in the infirmary. How do you feel, Daniel? I hear your injuries are not serious.
It's gone.
What? Daniel patted himself fervently in a way that Skylar recognized. Is he mentally impaired from the fall?
No. His magic is gone. With Henry's birthday a few weeks away, I began to ponder over the perfect gift. His suggestion of a shared bath was exciting, but certainly not something I could publicly acknowledge. At the parties, I could already hear the nobles' inquiries. What gift did you prepare for His Majesty? I could hardly say, I will take a bath with His Majesty. I'll be his gift, wet and covered in bubbles. But it wasn't just a random concern. The nobles, keen to avoid presenting a similar gift, would undoubtedly ask about mine. I needed a gift that I could confidently discuss, something tangible and presentable. After much deliberation, an idea sparked in my mind. Cake. Yes, I would bake Henry a birthday cake. My favorite cake from childhood. My next step was clear. Seek my mother's help. I wanted to bake Henry a cake in the Elisarian style, specifically the Troby family style. Fortunately, my mother was still at the Imperial Palace. I quickly hurried to where she was staying. Mother, could I have the recipe for your birthday cake? Bronwyn, you have the finest chefs in the Celestial Isles. You don't need to cook. It's for Henry's birthday, Mother. I want to create a special memory for him, just like you did for us. Henry loves you very much. He wouldn't want you to cook if it's not your preference. Henry doesn't know yet. And I don't dislike cooking, just usually prefer other activities. It was true, yet my mother looked unconvinced by my explanation. Is a cake truly the best gift? My mother had her doubts, but after persistent requests for a special cake recipe, she finally relented. She admitted something I had not known before. Bronwyn, I have to admit something. The cake you loved so much was made by the chef. You mean you didn't make the cake for our birthdays? No, dear. I didn't need to cook when I had the chef, like you do here. You want to see His Majesty happily eat your cake, right? Yes, of course. Then I suggest you get a delicious cake and say you made it yourself. That's what you must do. Think about it. Do you want Henry to eat a tasteless cake made by you, or eat a delicious cake that he thinks is made by you? What would make His Majesty happier? In the end, my mother smiled and gently patted my back, advising me to keep this little secret just between us.
As Bronwyn grappled with her mother's surprising revelation about the birthday cakes, Pierce Dane stepped into the office of the Finance Ministry in Elisaria, ready for his meeting. He had departed from the Western Empire days earlier, finally arriving in the Imperial Palace that morning. "Welcome. Are you Pierce Dane?" "Yes, I am. I'm here for my appointment with the Finance Minister." Under normal circumstances, Pierce might have responded brusquely rather than politely, but today he had a crucial task at hand, a secret request from Queen Bronwyn, no less. This added a layer of pressure, making him more cautious in his approach. "The Finance Minister is waiting for you." Following the secretary's lead, Pierce entered the next room where the Finance Minister awaited him, surrounded by papers prepared for their meeting. Once the initial greetings were concluded, they delved into various topics, aiming to reach a fruitful agreement. As the meeting neared its conclusion, the Finance Minister presented Pierce Dane with a promissory note. This was in exchange for a special collection of jewels from the Western Empire. Dane examined the promissory note with a discerning eye. This kind of meticulous examination was typical for him. But this time, his scrutiny was even more intense, aligning with Bronwyn's secret request.
Is there a problem?
Dane seized the moment to execute Bronwyn's plan. He proceeded with the narrative Bronwyn had suggested. "My apologies. I hope you're not offended. I'm just being cautious. Lately, I've heard numerous cases of counterfeit promissory notes." Dane's words were carefully chosen, intended to instill a sense of caution and concern within the Finance Ministry. By planting the seed of doubt about the authenticity of promissory notes, Dane was fulfilling Bronwyn's request to keep the ministry, and by extension, Rose, preoccupied with this potential issue. The Finance Minister, perturbed by Dane's comments about counterfeit promissory notes, was left in a state of skepticism and irritation after his departure.
Counterfeit promissory notes? Our kingdom's promissory notes can't be counterfeit.
For the Finance Minister, the mere suggestion that their notes could be counterfeited was unthinkable. He prided himself on his vigilance and meticulousness, traits that had earned him respect, even from the former queen. Yet the seed of doubt planted by Dane's words nagged at him, his unease growing as the night wore on. Unable to shake his anxiety, the finance minister made a late-night request to his secretary.
Bring me the books of accounts and promissory notes for the last year.
The secretary promptly returned with the requested items.
Here you go.
And bring me a damn glass of wine.
The finance minister prepared himself for a long night, determined to personally verify the authenticity of each promissory note. Dane's carefully placed words had achieved their intended effect, sending ripples of concern through the halls of the palace. This meticulous examination would not only consume the finance minister's time and energy, but also divert Rose's focus, a strategic distraction orchestrated at Bronwyn's behest. The finance minister, with his desk illuminated by an oil lamp and glasses perched on his nose, began a meticulous examination. He scrutinized every detail, the issue dates of the promissory notes, the authenticity of the returned notes, and their users. Everything seemed in order. Even the significant notes issued to Queen Rose appeared normal at first glance. A frown creased his brow as he leaned closer to the account books. He thoroughly searched through the records and his memory. Something was amiss. No promissory note had been issued to Queen Rose in the past year. It was an impossibility for such a note to have been issued over a year ago. Back then, Rose was not yet part of high society and lived as a commoner. Besides, Queen Rose typically used the promissory notes from the imperial family.
How strange. Although these promissory notes had not been authorized, there was a record of their use. It seemed the person in charge had only verified their authenticity, but overlooked the fact that they were never issued.
He called to his secretary.
Bring detailed reports of all promissory notes issued and returned for the past year.
All of them?
Yes, immediately.
It's quite late, sir. Wouldn't it be better to check tomorrow? I can bring them to you first thing in the morning.
No, I need to check this now. Now!
The secretary, sensing the gravity in the finance minister's voice, hurried off with a sense of urgency, his face clouded with concern. About an hour later, he returned, carrying a large box filled with documents. The finance minister wasted no time. He immediately began poring over the reports of the issued promissory notes, confirming his suspicion that there was no record of any notes issued to Queen Rose. Next, he turned his attention to the returned promissory notes. He swapped his regular reading glasses for a special pair, designed to identify the unique markings on promissory notes issued to the king and queen. The slave registry discreetly used these marks for strategic insights, a secret method to forecast economic trends and investment opportunities.
There are no promissory notes issued to the imperial family in the last year. This narrows down the possibilities to two scenarios. Either the large donation that earned Queen Rose public acclaim was actually funded by the king, or she had used promissory notes from the former queen.
If it was the former, the idea of Rose masquerading as a benefactor using the king's funds was laughable and deceitful. If it was the latter, The act of utilizing the former queen's resources was a devious maneuver, a betrayal of trust and her position. The finance minister sat back in his chair, the weight of his discovery pressing heavily upon him.
This revelation about the promissory notes not only casts a shadow over Queen Rose's recent philanthropic actions, but also raises questions about the integrity and transparency of the transactions within the finance ministry. I had harbored a hope that Queen Rose was genuinely a beacon of hope for the commoners. But now I am deeply disappointed.
The next day, the finance minister arrived early at the office, resorting to his old habit of sweeping the floor himself to clear his mind. His secretary, familiar with the finance minister's habits, approached him with a look of concern.
Minister, have you read this? Julian, the commoner's scribe, must have had a huge fight with Queen Rose. He has attacked her again.
The secretary handed the finance minister a crumpled pamphlet.
Let me see that.
The article painted a concerning picture. Julian, known for his typically favorable coverage of the Queen, had completely reversed his opinion. The piece suggested that Queen Rose engaged only with noblemen, disregarding the commoners who had once championed her ascent. It concluded with a poignant line.
Is it scary to look down from the top? Rose has climbed the ladder of status and seems to have no intention of ever looking down again.
Didn't he previously write that Queen Rose framed her maids to replace them?
Yes, Minister, he did.
The finance minister pondered deeply, considering the implications of the promissory notes issue. It was clear that Julian was yet unaware of this potential scandal.
What if those promissory notes used by Queen Rose weren't from the king, but indeed from the former queen?
He mulled over the potential fallout. If the former queen demanded the return of her promissory notes, or if someone close to her uncovered their misuse, the situation could escalate dramatically.
It would be disastrous.
Queen Rose had garnered significant acclaim for her large donation, facilitated through the slave registry. Both the Queen and the finance ministry had basked in the glow of public adulation. However, the finance minister realized the precariousness of their position. Although currently beneficial, any downfall of Queen Rose could drag the finance ministry down with her.
I must take measures to disassociate us from the Queen as quickly as possible.
The finance minister knew he had to act shrewdly to safeguard the corporation's interests and reputation. The potential scandal lurking beneath the surface of the promissory notes could have far-reaching consequences, not just for Queen Rose, but for the slave registry as well.
Sir, is there something that worries you?
Yes. It is a matter about Queen Rose.
Queen Rose?
The employee pondered if there was an issue related to the Queen that warranted concern. Suddenly, a memory clicked.
By any chance, is it related to what happened a short time back?
What are you talking about?
Didn't you know? When you were away, the king's knights came looking for something related to that woman.
That woman?
Yes, she wasn't queen back then.
The finance minister's thoughts crystallized upon hearing the employee's revelation.
We need to draw a line, now.
He concluded that distancing the slave registry from Queen Rose would be the most prudent course of action. The series of scandals surrounding the Queen, despite her short time in the position, was an ominous indicator.
Finance Minister? Sir?
Send someone to King Aldrich. Report that our old promissory notes have been counterfeited.
What? Isn't that a lie? And how does it benefit us to claim that our old promissory notes have been counterfeited?
Our old promissory notes aren't in use anymore, right?
That's true, but...
There is no issue, since the king doesn't possess any old promissory notes. Nevertheless, ask the king to exchange all his promissory notes for new ones, just to be safe. It's a one-day task, so it shouldn't cause any inconvenience.
The secretary's expression turned to one of bewilderment. He couldn't fathom the finance minister's unusual tactics. The plan was a calculated move to create a pretext for the king to review and exchange all promissory notes, a subtle way to investigate the authenticity of the notes in circulation, especially those linked to Queen Rose. By framing it as a precaution against counterfeit notes, the finance minister aimed to uncover any irregularities without directly implicating anyone.